Hello everybody and welcome to Formula Sim Racing, where this week we are at the Circuit of the Americas for the ACE division of FSR for round 15. And we were hoping it was going to be an interesting one, Martin Stefanko. However, it looks like we've got an extremely small grid today.
Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. Hello, David. Like you said, we have not many drivers on the track right now. Only 11. But we had actually. I think we had it was the similar case last year as well. But hopefully it's still going to be somewhat interesting.
Hope is, I think, probably the best thing we could do today. I mean, I'm not sure what the weather's going to be like either. I think I was told there's half a chance of rain, but unfortunately I've not been able to check on percentages. But I think if we were to have rain, that'd potentially spice things up a little bit. Do you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean, in the rain, it's usually a bit tougher, as we have Danny van der Nee joining, so we have 12 drivers on the grid now. But yeah, like I said, in rain it's always a bit tougher. Of course it would spice things up a little bit, and it would make it more interesting because the drivers then tend to make more mistakes, and it would make it a bit more exciting. But we'll see how it goes.
That we will. I will just quickly say I want to apologise for not being able to do a live stream today. Obviously I'm only sort of like the backup of the backup of the backup, and everyone seems to be busy today, so hopefully the recording will go okay. Now, as for qualifying, Martin, around the Circuit of the Americas, I mean, I've got to say, it's a track where I kind of like about 80% of the circuit. The rest of it I absolutely despise, which can make qualifying very difficult if drivers are in a similar mindset. They may absolutely nail Sector 1, but as soon as Sector 2 starts with that awkward sort of top of the hill turn 9, it can all go downhill from there on in.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that corner at the start of the second sector, when you basically go uphill a little bit, it's very, very tough. The car can be very oversteer there, and overall this circuit is quite technical, especially the first sector. But you must remember that you must not go too aggressive in the first sector, otherwise you're gonna overheat the tires, and the car is gonna oversteer a lot at the rest of the track. So they have to go fast, but they must not really overheat the tires too much, otherwise they're gonna lose in the second, and especially in the final sector.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people might think that the straights are long enough to cool the tyres down, but not really, given the nature of the corners. Just having a quick look at George Chatzipantelis. He's the first to start a flying lap, and he's just gone through turn 1. A little bit too sideways, though, struggling under braking. Going through the S's, supposed to sort of simulate Maggots and Beckett's. I don't think it quite does that, but they're an interesting set of corners. So George sets the benchmark of a 20.3 for a Sector 1 time, and again, at the top of the hill, I say again, he's the first to get there. At the top of the hill, as we mentioned, a little bit twitchy at the top. Now onto the main straight, but again he's struggling a little bit under braking, and the rear end's gone, and that's his lap over.
Yeah, he was a bit too aggressive already on the entry to that corner, and basically overheated the tires, and on the exit it was going to be just more difficult, and didn't manage to keep it under control. So yeah, he has to try again, but he's got a lot of attempts and a lot of not really a lot of attempts, but he has a lot of time left still.
Yeah, he does. A lot of time is something I think we may have today. So let's see, Arek Kulak, I believe, is a new driver. He's done a 20.4 Sector 1, a 40.1 Sector 2. I must admit, I do love this long right-hander in the final sector, because it kind of heats the tyres up enough that, as you said, can make these last two corners very, very difficult. So he's going to be the first to cross the line. So let's see what kind of lap time he's going to set, as Danny van der Nee is green purple in Sector 1. And for Arek, it's a 136.9. It's not shabby, but it's not going to be pole position, I don't think.
Yeah, Jordi has now finished the second sector and is almost a tenth quicker than Kulak, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he does. And also we have Danny von der Niet, who is 2/10 quicker than Kulak, and we have Viktor Ivanov, who is a little bit quicker than Kulak in the first sector, so there's gonna be faster times, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, Jordy is new to FSR, and but I do know a few people will know about him. A little sideways through the final corner. That's going to compromise him a little bit on lap time. Let's see where he's going to position himself. It is provisional pole position, and then on to Danny van der Niet if it'll let me.
Yeah, he is first, 2.5 tenths quicker than Jordi. But we also have Viktor Ivanov, who is nearly 3 tenths quicker than Danny van der Niet in the second sector. So Viktor Ivanov showing some really good pace so far.
Well, Victor was one of the 12 drivers that was in the practice session very early to sort of get to grips with the temperatures and the grip level. I mean, this is something to point out as well, because there is only 12 drivers on the track at this point, and in practice there was hardly anybody on the circuit. The amount of rubber on the track is going to be oh so little right now, and as a racer, Martin, that's the last thing you want, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, because the less railroad you have, the more tire wear there's gonna be, and it's gonna be overall a bit tougher for you. So yeah, it's usually good to get on the track as early as you can to get used to the conditions and stuff like that. So Viktor Ivanov was actually the quickest in the practice session, so yeah, like I said, he's showing some good pace.
That he is. Gerard's about to cross the line. Where's he going to position himself? I think it could be up near the top. No, it's only 5th place.
Yeah, 1.5 seconds off. That's actually quite surprising. He was a bit off in the practice as well, so not sure really what's the case with Sergi there.
Maybe he's been celebrating independence a little bit too much. George Stefanko has done a purple sector 1, 20.2. So he's obviously improved in that sector. How's he getting on sector 1? The sector 2 he's done a 39.7, which is pretty competitive. We'll see how he gets on through these final few corners. But it does look, Martin, like he is struggling with the tyre temperatures there, perhaps pushing the car a little bit too much.
Yeah, looks like it. Already when I saw him the first time, it already looked like he is a bit too aggressive with the car, which usually is not a good thing. You need to be smooth with these cars. So yeah, but we'll see how George gets on as he crosses the line, and 3.5 tenths quicker goes provisional pole. But actually I saw, yeah, Sergi Aras had a big improvement in the first and now in the second sector as well, but he's nearly half a second off Shatsi Pantelis, so yeah, not really a good start for Sergi.
Not at all. Pedro Gomez is just going to put himself in 3rd place. I've got to say, it's a fantastic lap by George there at 35.8. I think we may get quicker throughout the session. Let's see how Elas is going to finish his lap. It's only 5th place. Yeah, he's struggling a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, it looks like he's really struggling. I mean, usually the flag-to-flag cars are right at the front, but right now they look like that they're struggling a little bit.
Lucas Schmidt, steady sector 1, 20.4, a little bit down in sector 2, a 40.1. I mean, I don't really want to talk too much about setups here, but I think that this is a track that is very difficult to get right with your setup, which way you go for aerodynamics and in comparison mechanical grip over aerodynamic grip and things like that. Because you don't want to be slow on the straight, but you need to be quick through the corners. So Lucas Schmidt, what have you got? 3rd place for him.
Yeah, pretty good lap from Lucas. He's been quicker in the practice, so I'm sure he can still improve by quite a bit. So we'll see how he goes on. We have 12 minutes remaining, so still quite a bit of time remaining in the session to improve for the drivers.
Well, Chris Williamson just improved on his own lap time by 1.5 seconds, but it still only kept him in 10th place. Who else do we have out on track at the moment? Victor Ivanov. Victor Ivanov has been through sector 1, 0.5 tenth down on his own time, but he's going to have to gain 4 tenths somewhere throughout the rest of the circuit. It's not going to happen though, losing the rear end through turn 12, he will not be happy about that.
Yeah, definitely not. And Bogdanov now coming up to the final corner, and he makes a mistake. Car oversteered on the exit, lost quite a bit of time, and he's now up into 9th place. Still nearly 3 seconds off, but with the mistake there, there's still a room for improvement. But on the other hand, the next driver ahead, which is Kulak in 8th place, is 1.8 seconds ahead of him.
Yeah, that's a big gap. I mean, in the World Championship, we'd expect probably a spread of about a second over the top, say, 10, 15 drivers. Looks like today in ACE, it's going to be, could be 10 seconds covering 10 drivers. But no, I mean, they're not going to knock another 10 seconds off George's time, to be fair. So it looks like Geordie's still trying to get used to perhaps the FSR car, with him being very new to taking it cautious on this lap. And either that or he's setting himself up for another flyer. But I believe George is out there going for another flying lap.
Yeah, exactly. He was a 10th off in the first sector, so yeah, not the best first sector, but he can still improve, I'm sure, in the final 2 sectors. So we'll see. Oh, and he outbrakes himself. Yeah.
So unfortunate for George, that is.
Yeah, I already saw it before he went into the corner. I already saw that he was braking too late there. But yeah,
They do say sometimes you've got to be the best of the late breakers, but it's not the best if you end up off the track.
yeah, exactly.
Danny Van Der Neat looks like he's potentially on a bit of a flyer here. 20.2 sector 1. Let's see how he gets on. He's improved by a 10th, which is a good gain to find through that first sector. I've not yet had a look at what sort of straight line speed these guys are doing. Around about 310 kilometers an hour seems to be the average. Let's see how Danny Van Der Neat is going to get on. In the back straight, Martin, it's a long back straight where you don't want to be mugged on, but at the same time there's just so many aero required corners around this track that perhaps these drivers are thinking I've got to compromise straight line speed or maximise that cornering speed.
Yeah, I think in my opinion it's better to go for lower downforce, because in the corners it's very hard to overtake, and if you can keep the driver behind, he has a lesser chance to get you on the straight if you have good top speed.
That is true. Okay, Danny Van Der Neat looks like he's about to go and take pole position. He's had a pretty good sector 1, a very good sector 2. How's his sector 3 been? I mean, he's 4/10 up through those first 2 sectors, but has he just lost it all in the final sector? Yeah. No, he hasn't. Yes, he did.
Yeah. Lost a bit of time there, didn't he?
Yeah, it's surprising. I mean, half a second gain and he's still in second place. Mental session today, that's for certain.
Yeah, I think he went wide in the penultimate corner as well, behind the track limit. So yeah, he better improve and get a clean lap, otherwise he's gonna get a penalty, I think.
I suppose the advantage for him is that because we're recording, there isn't anybody messaging everybody else going, Danny went wide, Danny went wide. So Danny may get a little bit lucky here. Victor Ivanov, he's improving, 10th up on his own lap time at the moment through the first 2 sectors. I will quickly mention as well that you can use the curbs in Formula SimRacing, although obviously in real F1 there has been big dramas over the last few weeks to do with track limits.
Yeah, and manages to improve as well, but not enough to beat the Schatzi Pencils just yet.
Could we be on for a sort of shocking weekend? I mean, this is no disrespect to George Chatsipantelis, because at times he can be a very quick driver, but if he goes and takes pole position here, what kind of tone could that set for the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, that would be quite interesting. I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, I don't think George has actually won a race this season, has he?
No, he hasn't.
Yeah, so that definitely would be quite surprising. And yeah, so far he's doing a good job, but overall, I mean, speed over 1 lap is one thing, but the consistency and stuff like that in the race is a completely different ballgame, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, if he's overeating his tyres on a qualifying lap where, okay, you're going to be pushing that a little bit harder. If he drives in the same style during the race, his tyres are not going to last. So it's a little bit like saying to a woman, I can last all night. But if you mean sleeping when she means something else, then yeah, it's a completely different ball game. So yeah, you can't. I mean, this is something about the FSR cars as well. I mean, you do kind of have to drive them very, very differently from qualifying to the race.
Yeah, I think that's overall normal in the F1 cars, because nowadays you have to take care of the tires and everything. So yeah, you need to have a bit of a different driving style both for quali and the race, because in quali you can afford being a little bit more aggressive, while in the race you need to take care of the tires and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I was just having a look at Alec Kulak. He had a good sector 1, but struggled in the slow corners, sort of 13, 14, 15. Lost himself a little bit of time. See how he gets on through the final 2 corners. Very committed through the penultimate corner, as we've got 5.5 minutes left of the session. A little bit twitchy on the exit in the final corner. That's going to cost him some time. I don't think he's going to improve. Now I've said that, he will. No, he doesn't, unfortunately.
But Bogdanov managed to improve by half a second, but he's still in 9th place, 6 tenths behind Kulak, so...
Yeah. Now, Danny van der Neet is out on track again, but he's a 10.5 down through his own sector 1. I mean, for someone like Danny van der Neet as well, I mean, we haven't got Sander Callas in the race, we haven't got Felix van Delft in the race. So for someone like Danny van der Neet, he's probably seeing this as, this is my opportunity. He may be getting into his own head a little bit. If he's like, George is ahead of me at the moment, I can't have that. So he may be getting into his own head and trying that a little bit too hard. Yeah, I mean, he's half a second down now through sector 2.
Yeah, obviously with a few drivers missing, it opens up an opportunity for a lot of drivers. I mean, for Schatzi Pantelis, for Danny van der Neet, Ivanov, or Lucas Schmidt, it opens up an opportunity for a podium finish or perhaps a win in this race.
That it does. Oh, Lucas Schmidt. Lucas Schmidt is a 10th up on his previous time through sector 1. Oh, twitchy! Oh, he saved it. He saved it, but he's a bandit. I've got to say, well saved.
Yeah, he saved it, but that's not gonna help you at all.
Yeah, he needs to clean his seat, I think.
Maybe he does.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. George's actually done a semi-decent sector 2 time. Sorry, jumping about. Has he improved on his lap time?
No, he hasn't. But it was very close, only 11 thousandths of a second. He was actually 2 tenths off in the second sector, but then gained 2 tenths in the final sector, but just didn't manage to improve. And I don't think he has another lap. No,
he doesn't.
So.
Danny van der Neet and Viktor Ivanov do, though, and I believe they are both back out on track.
Yeah, they are, indeed. So we have a little bit over 3 minutes remaining, so probably only 1 lap remaining for all of these drivers. Maybe 2 if you're lucky, but for most it is probably only 1 lap remaining. So, yeah. Let's see how Danny van der Neet gets on, as well as Viktor Ivanov. Lucas Schmidt, he can't go out again as well, so he's the best position he's going to start in is going to be 4th place, which still is not bad. He's only 2 tenths off provisional pole, so I'm sure he can do something in the race with that. But yeah.
We can hope. Okay, Danny van der Neet is ahead of Viktor Ivanov on track, so I'm going to sort of keep the camera on Danny van der Neet at the moment. I'm just hoping as well that for a couple of the new guys that they realise that if they've completed 10 laps already, that's it, that's their session over. I mean, it's one of the risks of coming in as a new guy, might not know all of the rules. Okay, so Danny van der Neet, this is going to be his last opportunity to knock George Chatsipantelis off pole position here at the Circuit of the Americas, as someone has deposited a cone in the middle of the track between the final 2 corners. So Danny van der Neet setting himself up there. So Martin, do you want to take us through a lap of this track?
Yeah, why not? So it's just starting the lap, going uphill. Pretty much going blind into the first corner. Need to brake as late as you dare, hit the apex, get on the power as soon as you can. The car tends to be a bit oversteery. Now we're going into the second corner, and now the very, very fast section. Oh, and he goes wide and messes it up. So yeah.
Well, he's ruined your opportunity there, but let's see if Viktor Ivanov can get through these corners any better. I mean, Danny was committed there.
He was very committed, but probably a bit too committed. And yeah, just finishing up the first sector now, going into the, you could call it a chicane. It's a right left-hander on the exit, bit of oversteer there. Now going full throttle into this corner. You gotta make sure you hit the apex, get on the power as soon as you can. Now you have the back straight. Like I say, you need to get a good exit, because if you get a bad exit, it's gonna compromise your whole time on the whole straight. So yeah, now coming up hard, braking into this left-hander. Didn't really manage to hit the apex there, so you can't get on the power as early as you would want, but he is still quicker than Shatsipantelis by 0.03 of a second. Now we need to be careful here, because the car tends to oversteer a lot, as well as here in this left-hander on the exit. The car tends to be a bit aggressive on the exit. Now going full throttle through this long right-hander, and now the final two corners. Need to hit the apex here, and he's done that pretty nicely. And now the final corner, the car is going to start understeering, because the tires will be overheating, but he's done that very nicely indeed. Very good exit. Coming up to the line. Is it going to be provisional pole? No, just 0.04 of a second.
That was a beautiful final sector there, I will admit. I mean, you mentioned that he hit that penultimate apex very nicely. So Lucas Schmidt then is back out on track. He's gone through sector 1, so he's got an opportunity to knock George off his perch, and so has Sergi Eras. I don't know if they're going to do it though. Lucas Schmidt's going to need to, well, he needs to gain 0.2 of a second. He needs a fantastic middle and final sector here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I went into the menu on the server, so I can't see what he's doing exactly right now. So
well, he's up on his own time, but not enough. It's like 0.012, whereas he needs it to be 0.210. Let's see, heading up to the long right-hander now. Sergi Eras has done a good sector 2 as well, but is down quite a bit in sector 1. I think he may have crashed as well, unless that was Chris Williamson. So Lucas Schmidt, what have you got in the final two corners? Committed through the penultimate corner. Braking early, getting down those gears early, getting it turned in quite nicely. He's had a pretty decent exit. It's only a short run now to the finish line. What are you going to do? He stays 4th place.
Yeah. Stays 4th place, and now Sergi Eras, the last driver, and he goes 5th, ahead of Pedro Gomez.
George Chatsipantelis, pole position.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, a bit surprising there, but it's a nice surprise, and it's nice to see that the top 5, top 6, sort of are close within half a second or so. So it could be actually quite interesting in the race, especially the top 3, Shatsipantelis, Ivanov and Danny van der Niet, separated by less than a 1/10 of a second. So yeah, I think that's something to look forward to the race. It's going to be exciting, I think.
Definitely is. I tell you what, George, whatever you did with those Norwich girls last night, it worked. Okay, we're going to play a little bit of an intro to promo, and we'll be back to the warm-up session in a few moments' time as me and Martin try and work out just what happened there in qualifying. We'll be back in a moment. Okay, folks, thanks for rejoining us. Me and Martin just having a little bit of a chat there. We're definitely surprised at George's pole position. I think that might actually be, I'd have to check, I think that might actually be his first ever pole position in Formula Sim Racing.
Yeah, he said in the chat that this is made an FSR pole, so yeah, good job from him, obviously. Yeah, we have a bit of clouds in the sky, but we've had that throughout the whole qualifying as well. It's a bit dark on the track right now, so maybe we could potentially see a little bit of rain in the race, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that. So yeah.
Well, it would be interesting. Well, it'd be interesting for us. It could be very difficult for the drivers because obviously their part firme is. I mean, if they've come into this thinking dry, and I mean, okay, on a dry setup, from what I gather, if you know it's going to rain, you can do a couple of minor adjustments. You can reduce your front wing. Some people would think, why? I mean, try and explain this if you can, Martin, because some people may get baffled about this at times. Because I know when I've done commentary with David O'Reilly, he'll say, oh, if it's going to rain, reduce the front wing. A lot of people might think, well, you don't want to do that. You want to increase the front wing, surely, in the wet conditions. So why would the drivers, if it was going to rain, reduce that front wing?
Well, because if you reduce the front wing, you also the car doesn't oversteer that much. But if you get the wings higher, the more the car is gonna oversteer. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have you're gonna have a lot of aero in the corners, but the car is gonna be very oversteery in the wet. So if you get the wing down, you're not gonna be that quick through the corners, but in the wet it's not gonna matter that much anyway, and at least the car is not gonna be oversteering, and it's gonna be easier for you to get on the power and stuff. So overall, it is better to go lower with the wings.
Very nicely explained. Okay, I'm actually quite disappointed I've not been able to live stream this today because it would have been amazing to see people's reactions. I mean, like I say, I don't want to disrespect George at all. He's a lovely guy, and obviously I practice with him, and he can be a little bit mental at times, but that's George, and hopefully he won't take offence to that. But it will have come as a surprise to a lot of people that George is on pole position, even himself. So it's absolutely fantastic. Okay, Martin, if you can, I'm going to sort of go through top 10 in the driver's standings in ACE and the constructor's standings, and then perhaps chat a little bit about the current ACE situation, because obviously we do have a shortened grid today, but there are reasons for that. Okay, so I'll quickly fire through the top 10 in the driver's standings. Sander Callas took the title a couple of races ago. That was locked in. He's even been competing in the World Championship as a reserve driver, and rightly so, I think, because a little bit like yourself, Martin, and Mitchie last season, you were driving in ACE, but to be fair, you were World Championship quality, and that's the same with Sander Callas. Would you agree?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he already showed on multiple occasions in WC that he is World Championship quality, so yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that he won the championship in ACE this year. It's pretty much the same thing with Michi last year. He won it in a dominant fashion, just like he did this year. So yeah, we'll see what he can do next year in the WC.
Yeah, definitely. So 295 points for Sander Callas then, and a big gap back to Sergei Eras on 174. In third place we've got Felix van Delft on 150. The driver that was probably most able to compete with Sander throughout the course of the season. Lucas Schmidt in fourth place, so if he has a good result here today, I mean, if he could win, he could steal a position. He's on 129 points. Then we've got Dewald Nell in fifth on 120. Dewald not able to race today, unfortunately. And the same for sixth place Christoph Schoer on 118 points. So for Danny van der Neet, who's in seventh on 103 points, this is an opportunity. If he scores, 17 points, he can jump 2 places. George Winter in 8th place. George not able to race today. He's on 58 points. Arif Roslan on 56, and Adam Maguire, even though he's not raced in ACE for a long time, on 53. So yeah, the top 10, majority of the drivers unable to race today, unfortunately. In the constructors' standings, Netrex Grand Prix, I think they've got that one wrapped up some time ago. 398 points, that's where Sander Callas has been racing. And in second place we have Tough Flag on 231. And if George has a very good result here today, that could spice things up for second place in the championship standings, because Ghost Speed are in third on 199 points. Just bear with me a second because I've pressed the wrong button and lost my screen of the points.
Yeah, so right now looking at the times in warm-up session, Lucas Schmidt is the quickest by over half a second. Faster than Shatsi Penza, is a second quicker than Danny van der Neet, so looks like Schmidt is showing some very good pace with a higher fuel run.
Yeah, he definitely is. Okay, yeah, so Go Speed on 199 points could take the fight to flag who are in second. In fourth place, we've got Avid Chronic Racing on 183 points. And then we've got flag Orange on 170. Deltec Racing Team on 142. And then a bit of a gap down to the ACR Blue Team on 74. The ACR Grey Team on 73. Invictus on 65. That's it, actually Invictus Motorsport and Invictus Black on 65. That rounds out the top 10 of the constructors.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned there, Martin, about Lucas being half a second quicker on the heavier fuel. I mean, I'm hoping in a way that rain isn't going to come into play too much here, but strategy definitely will. Strategy is not going to be easy around this circuit, I don't think, because the nature of this track, it is a bit of a tyre punisher. So there could be the temptation of running the option tyres, obviously in the first stint. Everybody in the top 10 has to anyway. Yeah, run the option tyre and then not use it again. Use the harder compound for longer stints throughout the rest of the race. The problem is that harder compound is considerably slower, I think, than the option tyre. So somebody might think, you know what, I'll do an extra pit stop and use more options. So strategy could definitely play a major key today.
Yeah, of course, strategy is always important. So we'll see what the drivers do in the race. Obviously, you could go a bit more aggressive with the option tires, but you need to be lucky also to not get any traffic or be held up or whatever.
I don't think they're going to get traffic today.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, but that with the amount of drivers, there's not a big chance that you're gonna get traffic. But yeah. It is what it is. So yeah, we'll see what the drivers do in the race with the strategy.
Definitely, and obviously I mentioned earlier on that there would not be a lot of rubber down on the track. With there only been 12 cars in the qualifying session. So from this point on, we're now sort of getting to a stage where, okay, the track is really going to rubber in throughout the course of this race, isn't it?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I say that, but it might not, because there might not be many cars in it.
Yeah, that as well. But still, the track is gonna rubber up throughout the race, and it's gonna get easier on the tires and stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
I've just seen a massive crash between George Chatsipantelis and Sergi Adas. It looked like George was going for slipstream while Sergi was trying to move out of the way. Ended up in a big collision, but warm-up is not far away from being completed now. I mean, here's something for you as well, Martin. I think Kian Donaldson, because he was a late allocation, he's got to start from the pits, I believe. Yeah, it makes sense for him to start on the prime tyre, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're outside the top 10 or you have some sort of penalty like starting from the pits, I mean, it's usually a good idea to start on the primes, yeah. So yeah, we'll see what he chooses, but for sure, if I would be starting from the pits, I would go for the primes, definitely.
Yeah, oh well, I mean, we saw what you did in Suzuka in the World Championship race. I mean, taking that choice of the wet tyre all the way to the slick tyre was a choice that definitely benefited you in the long run, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we're gonna start a race soon. Drivers are lining up on the grid. As we speak, we have 56 laps in this race. Obviously, it's 100% length of the real F1 race. In Pro, it is 75%, but in ACE and WC we have 100%. So yeah, the formation lap is gonna start really soon.
That it is, and I tell you, it looks like it's got a little bit darker out there,
Yeah.
you know, Martin, just as it changed to the race session. Okay, so have a quick run through the qualifying order for you then, folks. George Chatsipantelis taking his first pole position in Formula Sim Racing. And to be honest, this is a track where if you can pull away at the front, it's probably the best place to be able to do so. So George on the front row of the grid with Victor Ivanov in second place. They're going to head side by side potentially into turn 1, a corner as we've seen from official Formula 1 that can get very interesting at the start of races. In third place we have Danny Van Den Eet, who I'm sure is going to be ready to pounce on any mistakes from the cars ahead of him. While in fourth place we have Lucas Schmidt, driver who has quite a lot to potentially gain here today. In fifth place we have Sergi Eras, tends to go quite long on his tyres, so a tyre punishing circuit. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on. In sixth place we have Pedro Gomez. Don't really know much about this fella, so we'll have to see how he gets on around this circuit. And in seventh place we have Jordi Zviers. His first race started in seventh place, and he's already quite a long way behind. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, he stopped on the grid and escaped, and he went out of the pace to rejoin the formation lap, and he's got a penalty already.
Oh dear, oh dear. I did say sometimes people might not know fully the rules. Okay, in eighth place we have Arek Kulak. Interesting name there. And in ninth place we have Bojan Bogdanov for Formula Sim Racing 2017 team, one of the privateer drivers. In 10th place we have Pascal Chapon in what has got to be said probably the most hippie, trippy livery I've ever seen. And then in 11th place we have Chris Williamson, and in 12th we have Kian Donaldson starting from the pits.
Yeah, and it's actually, the clouds have gone away a little bit. The sky is getting clearer a bit, so yeah.
Well, Martin, for George, I mean, we've mentioned it's his first pole position in Formula Sim Racing. The pressure's going to be on him now, isn't it? It's a new situation for him.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be difficult for him, but yeah, if he settles with the nerves and stuff like that, I'm sure he's gonna be all right. But yeah, for sure it's gonna be tough. We'll see.
Okay, so as we wait for the lights to come on, maybe someone needs to just position themselves in their pit box correctly or their grid box correctly. Here we go then, the lights are coming on. We'll wait for them to go out and for George to make the run up to turn 1. Lights out and away they go. We are underway here in the Circuit of the Americas, and George has had a fantastic start, although Victor Ivanov trying to chuck it up the inside, and can he do it? No, George covers him off beautifully.
Yeah, George had a dream start here, and yeah, Victor Ivanov still in second place, but Lucas Schmidt has gone up into third place, managed to get ahead of Danny Van Der Neet. Then we have Sergi Eras in fifth, Gomez sixth, Bogdanov up to seventh already, Kulak and Alex Zviers in ninth, and Pascal Chapon rounding out the top 10. But yeah, like you said, Chatsipantelis is getting a very, very good start and already having a second of a lead. So yeah, a very, very good start from him, but we'll see if he can keep it up in the race. Yeah,
it was an absolutely phenomenal start for George, and as you say, we're going to have to wait and see if he can keep it up. I mean, being able to have the gap that he's got at the moment, it means nobody behind him is going to get that slipstream. Oh, I can see maybe a move going on a little bit further back, just behind Pedro Gomez. Bogdanov under pressure. Let's see, from Arek Gulak, maybe a little contact there, but nothing too drastic, and Arek taking the place back.
Yeah, it was a very, very nice move round the outside.
Oh, he's chucking it on the inside. Oh, nearly catches the back. Who was that? That was Jordi Zviers. I mean, it is a bit of an overtaking place into that corner, as we know, Martin, but it is a corner where you can think that you're okay to turn in, and all of a sudden you're chopping off somebody's nose.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it all ended up fine. So we're good as Chatsipantelis finishes lap 1 and is 1.5 seconds ahead of Victor Ivanov. So far he's showing really, really good pace, but we'll see how he's gonna cope with the tire wear and if he can keep it up consistently.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things that will benefit him, if he's got a bit of a gap, then he doesn't have to necessarily push as hard. He can look after the tyres a little bit, perhaps. But it could be a case of he is pushing hard right now, and it'll be towards the end of the stint where his pain will be felt.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, it's tough to predict, as Lucas Schmidt having a bit of trouble at the start of the second sector. Probably not fully used to the condition of being in the race, getting used to the car and stuff in the first couple of laps, making a mistake here and there.
Yeah, he's dropped off a little bit from Victor Ivanov. He's going to have to be careful of Danny van der Neet. I mean, something that'll be interesting for you to perhaps try and keep an eye on, Martin, will be how smooth or not smooth some of these guys are being on their steering wheels, because that'll give us a hint of who is going to be pitting early and who's going to be able to go long.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, you can really guess by the way these drivers handle the cars or drive it in the corners. They drive it aggressively, then it gives you a hint that the cars are not going to last too long. But if they're really smooth on the exit, on the entry, and throughout the corner, then you know that their cars will be more healthy, and that they're doing a good job with them.
Now the field, I mean, it's not necessarily getting spread out, but there's nice little gaps between each of the drivers. Now, one of the situations around this particular track, I mean, dirty air, you don't really want too much of it, especially through that first sector. But if you're slipstreaming a car who is slipstreaming a car who is slipstreaming a car, it could get a little bit difficult to overtake. Oh, we're about to have a move here, though, because I think Bogdanov just made a mistake through about turn 8, I think it was. Yeah, he's lost quite a bit of time, but now Jordi Spears loses the rear end as the car as he gets a little bit too excitable, and that is that opportunity gone. Danny van der Neet getting close to the back of Lucas Schmidt as well.
Yeah, now Sveers is gonna have a nice slipstream on this back straight, and Bogdanov is gonna go defensive. No, he doesn't. Sveers tucks to the inside and easily takes 8th place from Bogdanov there.
It's a nice move on the brakes there. I mean, sometimes you'll see drivers think, you know what, I'm not going to defend the corner, I'll let them brake late down the inside and I'll do a bit of a switchback on him. But it didn't look like that was Bogdanov's plan there. It was more a case of he's catching me quick, he's going to get past me anyway. I won't make it easy for him, but I'm not going to fight him. Pedro Gomez right on the back of Sergi Edas.
Yeah, and it's quite surprising from a rookie to be pressuring Sergi Eras, but yeah, so far he's doing a good job, as well as Kulak. He's right behind them as well. So yeah, good showing from the rookies so far.
Definitely is. Well, I mean, okay, I'm gonna get myself into trouble now. Is it a good showing from the rookies, or I can hear barrier contact?
Bogdanov in the wall, out of turn 1, and he's out of the race.
Oh dear, oh dear. Unfortunately, I didn't mention it earlier, unfortunately I'm not going to go back and do replays, I'm afraid, folks, because it has caused problems for OBS for me in the past. Not IBS, that's a completely different problem. But yeah, OBS, so I'm not going to go and have a look at what happened to him, but oh, Pedro Gomez! I think he's under pressure from Arek Kulak. Yeah. Kulak chucked it up the inside. It was a bit of a risky move. He's still attacking though. Can he get the move done? He's going to have to go round the outside of turn 11. But it can be done around the outside, Martin.
Yeah, and he's done it. Round the outside, and Kulak up into 6th place now.
See, now, it would have been easy to go on. There's only 12 drivers. There'll be no action. There is some action. We'll just have to see how long it lasts. Let's see, Sergi Edas still under pressure. No, not so much by Kulak. Kulak got close but has dropped off the back of him recently. Victor Ivanov, though, trying to close the gap to George, but isn't quite able to do it at the moment.
Yeah, he actually, Ivanov closed the gap to Shatsipantelis throughout the lap to under 1 second, but it has gone up. In the second and final sector back to 2 seconds, so the gap stays about the same, but it feels like that, I don't know if George made a mistake or something. but maybe he's like we've said multiple times. Maybe he's a bit more aggressive on the tires, and as the stint progresses, he's gonna struggle he's gonna struggle more and more with. First of all, he's gonna struggle with understeer as he goes into the corner. Then he's gonna struggle with oversteer on the exit because he's gonna overheat the tires.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a circuit where, I mean, okay, turn one, if you're cautious, you can kind of survive it. The rest of the turn 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's a lot like Suzuka Sector 1. If you get the first couple of corners wrong, you are making a big mistake in the latter stages of that sector. And when that understeer and oversteer really kicks in, you'll lose half a second to a second very easily. And it's kind of from sort of now, that if he has been punishing his tyres, he will really begin to feel it. From sort of like 5, lap 6 onwards is when he will really start to notice that his tyres are beginning to suffer.
Yeah, this is quite interesting because Ivanov always gains like half a second in the first sector, but then George gains it back in the second and the final sector. But it actually seems like Ivanov has had a pretty good lap, and the gap is down to 1.8 seconds, so he was around 3/10 quicker this lap. So he's closing the gap slowly but surely. We'll see if that continues on, as George made a mistake coming into turn 1, went too deep into the corner and lost another 2/3. So yeah, that's not gonna help him at all. So we'll see if Viktor Ivanov can keep closing the gap, and maybe we could see a potential fight, actual fight on the track for first position.
You did say that George was losing the time through Sector 1, so maybe it's in that turn 1 and those corners, as you say, the understeer, the oversteer kicking in, that's really beginning to punish him. I mean, Viktor Ivanov's looking to be very steady on the wheel from what I've seen, especially through Sector 3, so maybe he's playing it a little more cautiously in that third sector to have more tyre for Sector 1.
Yeah, he has once again closed the gap in the first sector by around 4/10. So he basically in the quick section he gained around 4/10. So it really shows that probably Ivanov is taking a better care of the tires and uses it to good effect to close the gap to George. But we'll see how it continues on.
Well, we've got an interesting sort of battle from 5th to 8th at the moment. For drivers within the space of about 3 seconds, and it's almost looks like Sergio Adas is holding these guys up, which is a bit of a surprise to say, really.
Yeah, that is quite surprising, but yeah, we've already seen it in both practice and qualifying that he's struggling a little bit. I don't know if he hasn't practiced enough, or the flag setup just simply isn't good enough. So it could be both, or it could be one of those. It's hard to tell.
It really is. I mean, this is a circuit, though, that if you haven't practiced, it will show you up.
Yeah.
Okay, so 7 laps into the race then. I mean, we've not really talked a lot about strategy, really. Obviously, don't want to say too much, but what, pit window for the option tyre? So I think it opens sort of anywhere from sort of lap 10 onwards, really. If someone's really punished the tyres, then yeah, they could be pitting as soon as lap 10, which if they do that, that's going to leave them with what, 46 laps? That would be 2 extremely long prime stints, or multiple more short option stints.
Yeah, I think from lap 10 to maybe, I don't know, lap 15 or something, the pit window is going to be open, so we'll see what the drivers choose as their strategy. Some could go for the prime, some could go for the options, as Viktor Ivanov keeps closing the gap to Shatsipansalis, and Lucas Schmidt is starting to close in a little bit as well.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that George's tyres may be hurting a lot more than everybody else's at the moment.
The gap is under a second now, only 8/9, and you could really see already from Ivanov's perspective, you can see that George is quite a bit aggressive on the tires.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that with it being his first pole position, the start would have been quite a nervous one for him, but a little bit of confidence perhaps growing through those opening laps, opening up a bit of a gap. But then as the gap comes down again, all of a sudden you can hear your heartbeat in your head. That's how much the pressure can be at times. Yeah, George is looking a little bit twitchy, but it's from here now as to where he could lose a lot more time or gain a lot more time. But actually, his car's not looking too bad. I don't want the commentators curse him. He's not actually looking too bad through there at the moment.
Yeah, exactly like you said.
But also, like you said, Lucas Schmidt is closing in on this little battle. Geordie has made a move on Alec Kulak, I believe. No, where's Kulak gone? He's gone over from wing. He's had an off at the top of the hill.
Oh, yeah, he lost his front wing. There's something must have happened there. I'm not sure what it was. Oh, yeah. On the round to the uphill corner, he went onto the curb and yeah, the car spun and he went into the wall.
Very easy to do there as well. Now, yeah. George has just had a little bit of a tank slapper through the kink of turn 13, and that's allowed Viktor Ivanov to get closer than he's been since the start of this race. Oh, a little bit of understeer for Ivanov though. He's had to go down an extra gear. I don't think he's confident in his car in these final two corners, you know. It'll be better for his tyres, they'll last a bit longer, but he doesn't look confident like he can push through those corners.
Yeah, I think he was also a bit closer to Stefanko, so maybe the dirty air played a little bit of effect there, but also it's very easy to turn late into the penultimate corner because it's basically, it has a blind apex, so it's tough to predict when exactly to turn into the corner. So it could be one of those, or maybe a combination of both the dirty air and turning late into the corner, but we'll see.
Could be very right. I mean, dirty air, it's always a factor, and yeah, I mean, it's even worse if you've got Ivanov a little bit twitchy on the rear end, showing that he knows he's got an opportunity here, but yeah, at the same time, I don't think he really has to risk anything, not until Lucas Schmidt gets close enough to Ivanov to potentially apply some pressure, perhaps try and make a move.
Yeah, what I would do in Ivanov's perspective right now, because with the way Stefanko is driving, I'm pretty sure that he's gonna pit sooner than Ivanov. So what I would do is that I would just sit behind him, save the tires, you know, put him a little bit under pressure by just being behind him. And because you can see he's making so many mistakes, and Viktor Ivanov can use that to great effect to really get close to him. So what I will do is just sit behind him, save the tires, put him under pressure by, like I said, just being behind him, by basically George having him in the mirrors, and yeah, then use the tire life that I saved throughout the stint, then when he pits, and get an overcut on him.
Yeah, definitely that. I know like commentators on occasion have said he's throwing everything at him, even the kitchen sink. Now, George did hit the cone at turn 1, and it hit Viktor Ivanov on the head. I don't know if that was tactical, but it's definitely what I saw happen.
A little bit of Mario Kart.
Yeah, why not? Okay, I mean, you're absolutely right, Martin, what you say with Ivanov. I mean, this is what I know I've talked about it in the World Championship commentary before, especially in stint 1, when we've been saying like they're not attacking each other, and it's because they're applying pressure. They're staying close enough that if you make a mistake, you're losing a position. But by keeping hold of the position you're in, you're potentially hurting your tyres, and then that's where the overcuts can come in. I mean, this is full-on pressure situation for George now, as he's struggling with his tyres through turns 12 and 13. The car twitching all over the place.
Oh my god, he's sliding everywhere. I mean, yeah, he's really struggling already, and it's only lap 9, so yeah, it's gonna be tough, very tough for George to stay in the lead. And he makes another mistake, and now this is a big chance for Viktor Ivanov. Oh no, he actually wanted to go for it, but Stefanko is stayed in first just about. I don't know how he managed to do that, but now also look at Schmidt very close behind Ivanov. Maybe he could try something down the inside into the turn 1. He's braking very late, looking up the front tires. Oh, almost a bit of contact. Side by side coming into turn 2. Schmidt versus Ivanov, but Ivanov keeps second place for now.
Fantastic opportunistic attempt there by Lucas Schmidt, but sector 1 can be very, very difficult to go side by side through. But now also Danny van der Niet is getting in on this battle as well. I mean, obviously, Victor Ivanov may have a few things to say with George's interpretation of racing line through the last couple of corners there, but I think everybody could understand that as the tyres are going.
Oh, another mistake from George, and this is a big chance for Victor Ivanov. He's only 2/10 behind on this back straight. We'll see if he can use that to great effect as Chatsipantelis doesn't go defensive. Victor Ivanov tucks to the inside. Now this hard braking into this left-hander. Now George Chatsipantelis keeps it round the outside. What the hell? How did he manage to do that? I don't know. But George amazingly keeps first place for now.
He's going all out defensive here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, he's trying to cover the inside line through the tight left-hander there, but the problem is that can compromise your speed. I think I might be about a second behind on visuals on you as well, Martin. So
yeah,
this could get a little confusing for anyone watching this. So I will try to sort that out in a bit. But yeah, what a fantastic bit of action we got going on here. At the point where George's tyres are clearly at their worst, he's coming out with some phenomenal defensive driving, and I've just commentators cursed him.
Yeah, he is defending brilliantly so far, but yeah, even though we have 12 drivers on the track now, actually only 11 as Bogdanov retired earlier in the race, we still have an amazing four-way battle for the lead and for the win in this race. It's amazing.
It is, it's absolutely fantastic, and Danny van der Niet is right on the back of Lucas Schmidt as well. As Victor Ivanov was having a sneaky look into turn 1, Danny van der Niet was doing the same. Jordi Zvejers makes the first regulation pit stop on the end of lap 11, so that's as far as his tyres will go. I think this may be Ivanov's best opportunity though. If he gets a good exit here, he's going to have a fantastic opportunity to make the move.
Yeah, he had a decent exit. Now onto this back straight, he could try it again down the inside. He has some very good top speed with the slipstream, hitting 320. He's going for it down the inside again. Chatsipantelis, oh, a little bit of contact there. But who's gonna keep the lead? Chatsipantelis has his nose ahead into this right-hander. Can he keep the lead? Oh, a little bit of sideways going on the exit there. Now Victor Ivanov tried to go down the inside, but George Chatsipantelis shut the door completely there. Very, very good defending from him. He still keeps first place.
Fantastic stuff here, absolutely fantastic stuff, but defending as hard as he has been doing could hurt his tyres even more. Let's see how he gets on through the final couple of corners here. A little bit twitchy. Ivanov is if Ivanov, it looks like he does not want to wait. Like, you know, you said earlier, Ivanov should just wait, you know, but he doesn't look like he wants to, Martin. I think he's got other ideas.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to do it the strategic way. He wants to do it on track now, actually. If he even had a look down the inside now, Chatsipantelis and they had contact. Oh my god, Lucas Schmidt into the lead now. Oh my god, that is insane. So Ivanov hit Chatsipantelis on the exit of turn 1. Now Chatsipantelis is down into 4th, Ivanov down into 6th, as even that puts Lucas Schmidt into the lead of this race, with Danny van der Niet in 2nd and Sergi Eras amazingly in 3rd place.
Well, I know George, and I know that George will not be happy right now in that helmet. If he's got neighbours, they're going to be wishing or thinking about moving with the amount of swearing he's going to be doing right now. But he needs to keep his head right now. He's shown he's got pace and he can do something in this race. So he needs to keep his head, argue the collision afterwards. But it's a shame it ended in that way. But for Lucas Schmidt, it's absolute gift. Is it Christmas already?
Almost. we're not too far away, but yeah, I took a look at it from the replay. Chatsipantelis was struggling on the exit, went almost sideways on the exit, but it was definitely Ivanov's fault, because he had space on the inside, but instead he hit George. So from my point of view, it was definitely Victor's fault. But it is what it is. They have to move on from it. Now Chatsipantelis going into the pit lane. Oh, nearly missed it. Oh, wow. As Gomez comes into the pits as well on at the end of lap 13.
Well, I mean,
my God.
I did see a bit of bodywork fly up into the air when that collision happened. As it looks like George is going for option tyres again. I don't know if George is going to have any kind of damage on his car. He doesn't look like he's got suspension damage, but at the same time, sometimes you can have minor suspension damage and you don't visually see it on the steering wheel. Whereas, I mean, as you know, Martin, sometimes when you got damage, you can tell clearly because they're turning right down a straight.
Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes the damage is very, very slight and you don't have to do much with the steering, so you don't really know. But if the damage is big enough, of course you're gonna notice because he's gonna go right or left on the straights. And oh my God, when I'm looking at the steering input from George, it's, I mean,
Has he been going to the Luke Maguire School of Steering?
a little bit. I mean, he's very like. It reminds me of Lance Stroll a little bit in the first couple of races when he was really twitchy.
Yeah.
With the steering wheel. It really looks the same, and yeah, I don't know if he's nervous or if he's just too aggressive. It's
Maybe.
tough to say.
I mean, George is from Greece, so maybe he's just checking the steering out. I mean, some drivers do that. If they've had a bit of a knock, they go right. Let's see what it can do. Quick left, quick right. Okay, that feels all right. Carry on. We'll see what happens. I mean, he's managed to make a pit stop and come back out in 5th place, so he's still in with a chance of battling for the lead of this race. Talking about the lead of this race, Lucas Schmidt and Danny Van Der Neem, half a second between them, and Sergi Eras now up to 3rd place. I said he likes to go long on his tyres, and it looks like that's what he's going to do. But for Lucas Schmidt and Danny Van Der Neem, they're obviously comfortable that these tyres can do this 15th lap quite comfortably.
Yeah. We'll see what they can do. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how quick is George going to be on the new tires. Obviously, he went for another set of options, so he should be pretty quick. As these guys, Schmidt and Danny Van Der Neet, are now on quite worn options, as Danny Van Der Neet is quite close on the exit. And now on the back straight, we saw that the top speed in the Netrex car is nothing special. As you can see, he's not gaining much on Lucas Schmidt, and Lucas Schmidt goes defensive into this left-hander, but manages to keep his position quite easily. Obviously, it's not as easy as it sounds, but yeah, Danny Van Der Neet didn't go for anything aggressive.
Well, the thing is, I mean, for Lucas Schmidt and Danny Van Der Neet, they've seen George and Victor have a bit of a coming together, so they perhaps now thinking, you know what, let's not risk anything. Yes, we want to fight, yes, we want to compete, but let's not risk anything. There's a chance of 25 points here.
And gets into the pits. And, I mean, this is amazing because Sergi Eras is closing in on Danny Van Der Neet. He gained nearly a second on this lap.
Well, maybe that's where, I mean, maybe Sergi was just running heavy fuel at the start of the race, which was why it looked like he was holding people up. But that allows him to go so much longer into the race. It's prime tyre for Lucas Schmidt, so he's going to go for a bit of a long stint. It's going to be a long pit stop because of having to put the additional fuel in. Question now is, where is George Chatsipantelis?
He's too far back.
Yeah,
yeah, so that's not great news for George Chatsipantelis because Lucas Schmidt is 4 seconds ahead. He's now on the prime tire, so George should be quite a bit quicker, but as we saw in the first stint, he was quick in the first 3 laps, and then...
Just thinking though, Martin, it's Victor Ivanov we want to keep an eye out in respect to George, because if you think about it, Lucas Schmidt was able to avoid the collision and drive off, so although George may have been able to be a little bit quicker, Danny Van Der Neet will have had a 6-7 second gap easily. Yeah. So yeah, if we went big to pits, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But George may take a bit of a, I mean, to be 4 seconds, 3 seconds behind Lucas Schmidt, I think realistically you'd probably have to go after a spin at turn 1. I'd take that.
Yeah, I think as it is right now, Victor Ivanov, it will be very, very close with George Chatsipantelis right now, but I think as it is right now, he would come out behind George because, well, he's just made a mistake now. But yeah, this is gonna be interesting because now Sergi Eras is in the fight as well, which is quite surprising.
Yeah, It is surprising, especially considering that he appeared to not be quick in practice, in qualifying, at the start of the race, and all of a sudden, 17 laps in, he's got a chance of winning the race.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, so I can see that further down the order we've got Chris Williamson, Alec Kulak, 4 seconds between those two. Kean Donaldson into the pits. He was just ahead of the leaders, so I think he pitted to get out of their way as well as get a fresh amount of fuel and tyres. I mean, fuel usage, or not necessarily fuel usage, as we're keeping an eye on Sergi Eras here. I'm just going to mention I also interested to know if you're a fan of refuelling, or whether you're a fan of have enough fuel at the start of the race to get to the end.
It's tough to say. To me, it doesn't make much difference. I don't mind having both. I don't mind banning refueling. I don't mind having refueling. Doesn't change much. Obviously, it changes a lot in the strategy, but for a driver, on its own, doesn't make much difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where with refueling, it means you're always potentially driving the car at its fastest, because you only ever really put enough fuel in that you need. But as you mentioned, for me, it's that strategy thing as Victor Ivanov is into the pits. So here we go then. Where will Victor and George be when Victor comes out of the pits? But yeah, for me, it's that thing of, okay, if something goes wrong or you want to change strategy, you want to mix things up, you kind of can't really. Whereas if you've got fuel from the start of the race, if you want to pit 5 laps earlier for tyres, you can, because you don't take a hit on fuel. Okay, yeah. Victor Ivanov.
Oh my god, this is going to be close. No, it's not.
It is, because George is just going to get to the pit entry now. George is ahead.
Yeah, he's ahead.
Now, George needed that because Victor Ivanov is on the prime tyres, so George now needs to make his option tyres work and run away into the distance. And I know George, as I said, so he'll be sat there going, yeah, get in, have some of that, until Victor closes up on him later on when George is on the prime tyre.
Oh, what a cut from George.
I didn't see that. I'm not commenting.
I think you didn't see that. Oh my lord.
I mean, I did want to talk to you about track limits actually, sort of FSR and real F1, but that was kind of like, you know, if the action gets a bit dull, we can talk about that, but the action hasn't been dull, and Sergi Eras is getting closer to Danny Van Der Neat, although Sergi Eras is struggling a bit with his front tyres now. But this for Lucas Schmidt is absolutely fantastic, because Lucas pitted, 2-3 laps ago, was it? So Lucas is going to basically take the lead of this race.
And Eras as well. So both guys into the pits. We'll see what they can do. Oh, and Danny Van Der Neat going really slowly. What is this? Oh my god, Danny Van Der Neat is going without pit limiter. And he went too quick. He's going to get a penalty for sure. I don't know what's happening there.
I saw that he was on about 106 kilometres an hour. The pit lane speed limit is 89 kilometres an hour. I'm wondering whether he hadn't told his pit crew to go in, or hadn't set his fuel or his tyres, or something was wrong, so he went a little bit slower to cover that off. And unfortunately, it's cost him a massive amount of time.
It's going to be close with Sergi Pantelis and Sergi Eras. Oh, Sergi Pantelis is braking really late, but Sergi Eras manages to basically hold on to second place ahead of Sergi Pantelis. So yeah, I mean, this is great news for Lucas Schmidt, because he's now 3.5 seconds of anybody else, and he can just like cruise around for a little bit now. But this is terrible news for Danny Van Der Neat, because he has indeed a 10-second stop and go penalty.
Devastating for Danny Van Der Neat in a race where he was looking fairly comfortable, a good chance of the victory. That opportunity is gone.
There will be a battle between Sergi Pantelis and Sergi Eras. He's gonna go for it on the back straight. Sergi Eras had a very poor exit, and Sergi, is he gonna try and defend? And look at the top speed of the Go Speed car; it's so low. Even in the slipstream, he was hitting only 310 kph, and that's really low.
That is really low. Even I'm surprised about that, and I drive the Go Speed.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask you about that one afterwards. Now, I did hear the sound of car V barrier somewhere, or car V cone. I'm not sure if somebody has had a bit of a problem. Danny Van Der Neet ever so close to the back of Victor Ivanov. So, as we know, Danny Van Der Neet is going to have to pull in to the pit lane to serve that drive-through penalty. Stop and go penalty, was it you said?
Yeah. 10 seconds. So he's going to lose a lot. I mean, and this time he has his speed limiter on. Good thing. But he's gonna probably come out in around 7th place, but very, very far behind 7th place. So yeah, it was a good start for Danny Van Der Neet. He was fighting for the lead, but now he's gonna be far off.
He is Sergi Eras, ever so close to the back of George Chatspantelis. I mean, I'm trying to remember now as well, when George pitted, it was what, I think it was like lap 12, lap 13, something like that. So, I mean, he's at that stage again where an angry driver, maybe a bit of damage on the car, pushing very hard. His tyres are in that realm of going off again.
And tell you what, this could be very good for Lucas Schmidt, because, yeah, of course, George is going to be quicker in the first couple of laps, but now he could potentially hold up Sergi Eras, which could give Lucas Schmidt an even bigger lead than he has now.
That it definitely could. That it definitely could. And for Sergi Eras, I mean, I've no idea what he's going to do, to be honest. I mean, it would make sense to play the patient game, as you mentioned earlier about Victor Ivanov, and just sort of don't push too much behind George at the moment, because he's going to be getting out of the way soon. Look after your own tyres, go that a little bit longer. I mean, what are we looking at for length of stint on the prime tyre? 18, somewhere between probably 18 to 25 laps maybe. I think 25 may be a bit of a push though.
Oh, and George makes a mistake at the exit of the final corner, and now Sergi Eras is gonna go for it. And is he gonna, he has his nose ahead coming into turn 1, and he's now fully ahead, but George is gonna try down the inside into turn 1, but Sergi Eras is gonna have a better exit, and he moves up into 2nd place.
Unfortunate for George there, and I just saw in the pit lane as well, it looks like Kian Donaldson's engine has given up the ghost. A lot of smoke coming out the back of his car as George drifting through sector 1. It's beautiful to see, but it's not fast. It's not good for your tyres either, and that's going to give Victor the opportunity to catch. That could annoy George, because Victor Ivanov's on the prime tyre and he's catching quite quickly now.
Yeah, he's gonna be struggling now with the tires compared to the prime runners. But yeah, this is good news for Sergi, because he can now start closing the gap to Lucas Schmidt if he can. That is the question, of course.
That it is. I mean, he is pulling away from George down the straight, so Sergi looking like he's got very good straight line speed. Victor Ivanov still closing that gap. But yeah, I mean, for Lucas Schmidt, I mean, he did well to avoid the collision we saw earlier on in the race, and being able to avoid that and be concentrated in the pit lane is giving him now a 5-second lead in this race. And having gone long, what, he went 15 laps into the race, so I won't be surprised if he's looking at a 21 and a 20 lap stint on the prime tyre, you know, Martin.
Yeah.
Or George struggling massively, taking his new line around the penultimate corner again. It's not working for him, but maybe the pressure is just getting to him a little bit too much now.
Yeah, could be. And then he out of the race, sadly. So that is our third retirement of the race, along with Donaldson and Bogdanov. So yeah, big shame and a big disappointment for Danny Van Der Neet, because he had good pace, he was fighting for the lead, but then it went all wrong for him, didn't it?
Oh yeah, and the thing is, I mean, the mentality of a driver can be a fickle thing at times, but when you're in that fight for a battle and you make an error like he did, it's not easy to just go, right, forget it, carry on. It's not easy to do that. And if it does play on your mind, it's going to breed a mistake that breeds a mistake that breeds a mistake that breeds anger and frustration. So I could perhaps understand Danny Van Der Neet going, you know what, that's too much for me to take today.
Yeah, obviously the mental aspect is usually 90% of the success, because if you're not gonna be confident and you're not gonna believe in yourself and the skill that you have, then you're never gonna have good results. You're gonna make mistakes and stuff like that. So having a very strong or having a very good mental strength can help you so much in the races. Not only in sim racing, but also in the real world as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for anyone that's of the younger generation, I know Martin's quite old now. You are classed as old, Martin, now. You're over the age of 15, so you're old. I mean, it's one of those, like, to try and put in as a young person, if you're still living at home, imagine trying to do a race while your mum's shouting you every 2 minutes that your dinner's ready. It's going to put you off. So now change that to George Chatsipantelis hunting you down. That's pressure, and it's mental pressure, and it's going to put you off. And it takes a lot for drivers to go, you know what, I can do this. But even aspects of life can affect how you race. I mean, if you're going through tough times in life, it can affect how you race. If you're not feeling very well, that can affect you. There's so many aspects, and it's very easy at times as a bystander or as a spectator to sit there and go, oh, I could do that. It's easy.
Yeah, like I said, the mental aspect very important, and like I said, also in the real life, because I had the chance to do a Formula Renault 2.0 test with a professional
Did you crash
team.
it?
No, I didn't.
Good.
Because I usually, when you try a car like that, you're gonna be a little bit nervous. You're gonna have the butterflies in your stomach, or however do you call it, yeah, you're gonna be a little bit nervous. You're not gonna be too much confident, but in my case, I wasn't nervous at all, and I think that helped me so much during the test.
Yeah, I mean, that's having the experience of, I mean, for example, the FSR World Championship, and the competitiveness of that would put you in a slightly better position to be able to do that. I mean, it's one of those things, sometimes people will get into a car like that, and they'll, like, if there's, say, a foot clutch, they'll find that as they're pressing the clutch, their legs going, their legs shaking, and that's the nerves. Or if they're holding the brake at a start line and their leg starts going, that's the nerves coming in.
Chatsipantelis into the wall! Oh my god! Oh, that happened all so suddenly. At the start of the second sector, once again, the uphill corner went onto the curb, and that's the front wing gone, and probably some damage for George as well. Probably some suspension damage, because he has to turn the car left.
Yeah, that's what we're on about with the suspension damage. I mean, that's going to frustrate George, but it was kind of getting to that point of his pit window, and that particular corner, the top of the hill, it is one of those corners that we mentioned earlier on. It is so easy to lose the car there, because you can be confident through that corner lap after lap after lap, but it only takes you to be that 1 centimetre offline a little bit, and around she goes. So massively unfortunate for George. Hopefully he can get back to the pits, get a new front wing on, and keep going in this race, because there's definite points available out there today.
Yeah, big shame, of course. But yeah, could also be the nerves.
That
could be anything.
Could be the nerves, could be the frustration, yeah. I mean, it's fair to say, I mean, the first half of the first sort of 20 laps of the race, absolutely fantastic stuff from him. Let's have a look. Battles at the moment, a little bit limited now. Gap 4 seconds between Lucas Schmidt and Eras, and 4 seconds between Eras and Ivanov. Pedro Gomez, though, not doing too bad, 14 seconds off the lead at the moment, and closing in on the leaders a little bit, but that could just be through the nature of corners they go through on the timing beams. But yeah, Pedro Gomez not doing a bad job, really.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job so far. That is for sure. But it looks like, yeah, George Chatsipantelis out of the race.
Devastation for George.
I'm quite sad for him, I have to say.
I am.
After that pole position.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it was the pole position, but it was also the way he approached that first stint. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
maybe a little too aggressive on the tyres, but he was having a really good race. He was defending brilliantly. He was showing. I mean, I know there have been occasions throughout this season where people have questioned his driving ability. I think in that first stint, he showed what his real driver ability is. Some brilliant defending. I mean, I think for George, it was that moment of contact that will have, that's like setting a box of fireworks off in your kitchen. It's not going to end well.
Yeah. But yeah, we have quite a bit of a gap between all the drivers. The closest gap we have on the track now is between Eras and Ivanov, and that's 4 seconds. So yeah, we're halfway, not even halfway through the race yet, almost halfway through the race. And yeah, it looks like the things have settled down a little bit in the race.
Okay, so this is now where for 30 laps, mine and Martin's commentary abilities come into question. So get ready for this one, folks, because we could end up talking about anything. Okay, so while these guys are currently sitting in on the prime tyres, the gaps are holding station. We'll keep an eye on those gaps. But I'm interested to know, Martin, I mean, we're racing at the Circuit of the Americas, and obviously real Formula 1 raced here not too long ago. And obviously there was the Verstappen, Raikkonen situation. What's your view on it in that particular race, and what would your view on it be in an FSR race?
I think the penalty is well deserved, because obviously he cut the corner, and while cutting the corner he overtook someone, and that's illegal. I mean, it's simple as that. I mean, obviously people try to argument with people going wide at the exit of the corner and stuff like that, or throughout the corner, but I mean, yeah, you gain a little bit of advantage, but nobody overtook someone while being outside the track limits. Only Max Verstappen did that in the race. That's why he got a penalty and nobody else did. It's simple as that. So my view on it is that it was a nice battle. I think everybody enjoyed it, but in the end it was illegal and the penalty was well deserved. So, but I don't think it's anything tragic or something like that. But if it would happen in an FSR race, it would be the same. I mean, that thing is illegal. So if someone would do that, I would give him a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, Charlie Whiting was asked about, like, 'cause obviously there were people going, oh well, Bottas went wide and so went wide, and now Charlie Whiting said pretty much what you did. Verstappen was the only person that cut a corner, an apex of a corner, and overtook someone. Nobody else did that, which is exactly right. And I think, I mean, I'm a big fan of Paul de Resta's, and I like some of the analysis that he does on things. And he was adamant and right. It's a penalty, and you can't really argue it. At the same time, I mean, if you were Max Verstappen, I could understand, like, at that point going, oh no, I cut the corner, I'm going to keep going. I could understand that, because it's the last lap of the race, and you never know, you might get lucky. But at the same time, really, you should have given the position back. But yeah, I mean, I think it's right that the penalty was given in FSR, yeah. I mean, if you were Kimi Raikkonen in that situation, I think once you'd seen it, you'd probably look at it and go, yeah, bit naughty that. Now I'm just having a look at Sergio Eras. He's gaining on Lucas Schmidt, and I'm wondering if Lucas Schmidt has struggled a little bit with the back marker of Pascal Chapon there.
I don't think he did. I think Sergio is genuinely closing the gap to him.
Yeah, he's done. He did a purple sector 2 last lap. He's done a purple sector 1 this lap. Pascal Chapon trying to get out of the way, but he's got it in the way. That's Sergio Eras off the track. He's off the track and he's overtook someone, Martin. Give him a penalty. Different situation.
Yeah, of course.
I've got to try and do something to spice it up. Now, Pedro Gomez still holding that 13.5 second gap, but I mean, that has just cost Sergio Eras, about half a second to maybe a second there, a bit of concentration. It did look like Pascal Chapon was trying to get out of the way, But, I mean, Sector 1 here, I mean, you've probably never really had to do it, Martin, getting out of people's way here. Sector 1 is not an easy place to get out of someone's way, because you kind of have to either do it after turn 1 or after turn 9.
Yeah.
Although, say that, you could go off the track if you're a back marker and your laps down, you could get well out of the way.
Go way off.
So 28 laps into the race then. So what? A bit over half distance really. So the question I suppose is going to be, I mean, Victor Ivanov I think pitted, he pitted before Sergi Eras and Lucas Schmidt, so may pit early again. I mean, we could see any of these guys go for still, what, another double option stint would be possible. What, 27 laps to go. But I've got a feeling they're just going to keep pounding round until these prime tyres die and then stick on another set of the primes.
Yeah, could very well be. I mean, they should be pitting in around, I don't know, under I don't know, 10 laps or so. In the next 5 to 10 laps, they should be all pitting once again. At least that's my assumption. I don't know myself. I'm quite clueless with the strategy, so I'm just guessing right here.
Well, I know that George was messaging me, sort of trying to get an idea about strategy. But unfortunately, I was trying to get ready for the broadcast, so I didn't really see his messages. So I do know that George was compromised a little bit with strategy, but I mean, to kind of touch on that a little bit, I mean, strategies they're game changers, aren't they? I mean, it's a little bit like, if you've got setups right, you have an opportunity to win. But if your strategy is wrong, that opportunity goes away. If your setup is wrong, your opportunity to win is massively reduced. But if your strategy is right, a bit of opportunity can come back your way. So strategy can be absolutely crucial in Formula Sim racing, or even in any type of racing series.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, strategies are, like you said, a crucial part of a success. If you're gonna be on the wrong strategy, it can heavily compromise you in a race. But if you're gonna be on the right strategy, you can gain a lot of time and a lot of positions. Obviously, when there's rain involved, and perhaps in some series when there is a safety car, you can really go for alternate strategies, and it can either go your way or it can go against you. So yeah, like you said, it really is game changing, and it can either screw up your race or it can win you a race. It can go both ways.
That it can. I mean, I think the best analogy I can give of it is, you might love your wife, but if you don't plan Valentine's Day, she's not going to love you for very long. You can't just go, oh, it's Valentine's Day, what shall I get her? That's not going to cut it, guys. Although saying that, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, maybe men are just different. I don't think men sit there going, oh, I wonder what she's going to get me for Valentine's Day. We're kind of like, you know, I'd be happy with a Chinese and a beer.
Yeah.
Let's say that I haven't had a Valentine's card since I was about 14 years old, so I can't really say anything. It's all corporate conspiracies to make money. I'm not going to get out that route.
Yeah.
So, state of play, lap 31. Sergi Eras is closing that gap again to Lucas Schmidt. Sergi is, maybe it was just the option tire, whatever it was, at the start of this race, he did not have the pace. But he's definitely showing now that he has got pace. He's got a chance here.
Yeah, it always looks like that in the first part of the stint, or in the first half of the stint, he's a bit slower than the others, but then when the tire life really comes to play and stuff, he manages to be really gentle to the tires, use it to good effect, and be quicker in the second half of the stint. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Victor Ivanov is quite close as well, only 3 seconds behind, so it still could be a freeway battle for the win in this race.
You're right there. I mean, Victor has recovered from that collision early on quite nicely. I mean, around many tracks, I'd say a 5-second gap, unless you're going to do something very, very differently with strategy, you're probably too far behind. But at this track, I think it's a bit of an anomaly, because this is a circuit where if you do go that one lap too long, you don't gain from doing the extra lap on the low fuel. You could lose a second and a half in one lap alone. So I think that 5.5 seconds, which is now under 5 seconds for Viktor Ivanov, I think he's still in with the shout with this, like you said, because all it's going to take is getting that strategy right. I mean, if he pits early and puts on prime tyres, he's going to lose out a bit of time potentially. If he was to switch it and go for a couple of option stints, which I think that chance may have just about gone now, but if he was to do that, he could be fast from now until the end of the race. It could give him the opportunity, but it's going to cost him an extra 25 seconds in the pit lane. But if he can stretch this stint out while closing the gap and pit at about the same time, if outright he's got more pace, his opportunity can definitely come. And if we remember, I'm trying to think back, Martin, in the practice before the race, was it Viktor Ivanov that was quickest? But in the practice in the warm-up session after qualifying, Lucas Schmidt was quickest.
Yeah, it was indeed like that. So yeah, both Sergey and Viktor Ivanov closing the gap. The gap between Lucas and Sergey nearly under 2 seconds. And for Viktor Ivanov and Lucas Schmidt, the gap is under 5 seconds now. So this could get really, really interesting in the second half of the race.
Yeah, it definitely could. I just want to quickly talk about, if we can, about the low numbers in ACE in today's race. Obviously, it's not a great advertisement for Formula Sim racing, although ACE's numbers have been, they started off fantastic this season. But over the course of the season they dropped as some drivers moved up into the championship. Some drivers perhaps felt they didn't get on with the car and wanted to race elsewhere. That's life. Sometimes life gets in the way. Maybe somebody didn't get their wife anything for Valentine's and suddenly they had no wheel to drive on. But FSR did bring in a privateer system where new people, instead of joining the full pro, the overly full pro division, which should be the sort of initial, right, you want to join FSR, here's the way in. It was opened up for these guys to be able to race in ACE with a privateer system. So they didn't have to create a brand new team or join a current team. They could pay the driver fee and race as a privateer in ACE, which initially looked like it kind of worked and has opened the door for a number of new drivers. However, it still looks, Martin, like ACE is struggling a little bit for race numbers on a Saturday.
Yeah, like you said, ACE, not only this year but also last year, it was struggling a bit with the participation numbers. Pro is usually full, and you need to have pre-qualifying because there's just too many drivers that want to participate. WC usually full, but ACE is struggling. But it's interesting to see, and I can't really, I don't really know why it is struggling so much. But yeah, it is what it is, and we have to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I did commentary on the race in Hungary in ACE last season, I think it was, where I think only about 9 drivers started and about 5 finished. Yeah.
That was my second race.
Yeah, that was painful to do commentary on. But I've got to say, Sergey Ellis is definitely giving us plenty to keep an eye on here. He's closed that gap and it's down to a second now. So doing a cracking job here. But yeah, I mean, on paper, I mean, ACE should work the same as WC really, but for whatever reason, unfortunately the numbers tend to dwindle, and we do have that situation in Pro where I know like at the start of the season there's like 42 drivers applying to allocate for the race. So yeah, as you said, pre-qualifying has been needed for all but one race this season, which you've got to say it has been good. I mean, I don't know how to potentially fix what appears to be a bit of an issue, but I think probably one of the things I might do is go, right, well, you know what, everybody, or most people that have been ace all season could potentially compete in WC. So whether that would be the way forward, I don't know, but we'll have to see what happens with the president, or the new FSR president for 2018, because I believe that is open now for people to be nominated for FSR president.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sergio's closing in, Victor Ivanov closing in. We have 22 laps remaining, so yeah, like I've said multiple times, this is gonna get quite interesting. And Sergio's getting closer and closer to the back of Lucas's car, and I think that in a couple of laps time we could see an on-track battle for the lead here. And if that happens, that could open up an opportunity for Viktor Ivanov, because he could use that to close in on the first two guys.
Yeah, definitely could. Sergio has just done purple sector 1. He is absolutely flying at the moment. He's getting really close, and this thing, I mean, we saw it earlier on in the race where once you start getting close enough to get the slipstream and apply that pressure, the time, you can lose a little bit of time, and that's where Viktor Ivanov is really going to be able to benefit here. I mean, as you said, I think Ivanov potentially has to go longer unless he catches up to the back of these guys and starts losing time. For Sergio, though, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him pounce at the first opportunity. I'm just wondering, I mean, let's see, we're 21 laps to go. We've hyped this up, Martin. You know what's going to happen, though? One of them's going to go into the pit lane, and then we're going to have no battle at all.
Yeah. We'll see if someone goes into the pits. Not yet. I think it's still going to take a couple of laps till that happens. But yeah, Sergio's now getting really close. He's only half a second behind Lucas Schmidt now. Viktor Ivanov 2.5 seconds behind Sergi, so he's closing in. And now the first two guys, Lucas and Sergi, have a back marker ahead of them. Not anymore. Getting out of the way very nicely indeed, especially for a rookie. That has to be said.
Oh, Eras! Oh, he was twitching then. He managed to keep hold of it. But yeah, he definitely got affected by a bit of dirty air there. It looked like the front end wanted to go, and he flicked it in a bit more, and then the rear end wanted to go. I mean, that's what you were saying, Brian, wasn't it? Where you get a bit of understeer, and you try and compensate, and then you get the oversteer kicking. But yeah, Eras, definitely, he's going for it. Ivanov has now done a purple sector 1.
Yeah. The gap has gone down to 2 seconds between Sergi and Ivanov, so he has gained 2-3 tenths in the first sector, so he's getting closer and closer. And yeah, the halfway point of the race was a little bit boring, but now it's getting exciting again. That's good to see.
It definitely is. Now I think Jordy's Veers, I think he's recently pitted for a set of option tyres, so he's doing pretty quick sectors at the moment. But he's got about 8 seconds to try and catch up to Pedro Gomez, who I think pitted a few laps ago. But obviously, we're going to focus on this battle at the front. I mean, I'm looking out the back of Lucas's car here, and Lucas's car...
This could be interesting.
Well, the interesting thing about this, even on purple sector 2 as well, the really interesting thing about this for me is that Eras could now go and pump in very quick lap times, because we've seen that he's been held up a little bit behind Lucas Schmidt, as Viktor Ivanov, I think, has just done the fastest lap of the race. Let's see, what times is Schmidt going to go for? It is another set of the prime tyres.
Yeah, and that's going to be very tough for him. If Sergi and Ivanov don't pit on the next lap, it's going to be very difficult for Lucas to keep the lead, because even though he has fresher tires, he is much heavier on fuel, and there isn't that much tire wear on the prime tires. So as you continue throughout the stint, you get quicker and quicker. On the option, obviously you are very quick at the start, but then you get slower. It's the exact opposite on the primes. So right now, Eras and Ivanov will be very quick, while Lucas will be struggling because he is heavy on fuel. So he needs to push really, really hard, and he has to hope that the first two guys, Sergi and Victor, are gonna pit soon, because otherwise I think he's gonna lose the lead. And he had some lag now. He had a little bit of a lag spike now, so I think he lost a second or something. So that could be crucial in the final stages of this race.
It definitely could be. Now, I mentioned earlier that Sergi Abbas likes to go long on his tyres, and I'm just wondering, I mean, he did what, 15, 16 laps on his option tyres at the start? If he's got another 6 laps in these tyres and fuel, I could see him sticking a set of options on at the end to go and be quick at the end. I could see him doing that kind of thing. To put things into perspective as well, what you mentioned there about Lucas Schmidt having a bit of a lag spike and being potentially slower right now. Sergei Eras sector 2 time on the previous lap was a 40.9. Ivanov, it was purple, 40.6. Lucas Schmidt a 42.3. He lost nearly 2 seconds in one sector.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt him. Yeah, the lag actually happened in the second sector, so yeah, that could be why he was nearly 2 seconds slower. But now I'm looking at the gap and it keeps increasing. So yeah, I don't think Lucas is gonna be able to hold on to the lead for when the first 2 guys pit.
No, I think you're right. I mean, Sergei Eras does another purple sector 1. Victor Ivanov was a little slower in sector 1 at 21.0. Let's see, Lucas 20.9. That's not bad, but it's in the sector 2 and 3 where it's gonna. That's where the time loss tends to come a bit. Sergei Eras getting past Chris Williamson there, who's nicely out of the way, but Sergei Eras, big twitch, losing the rear end there. Won't have compromised his sector 2 time because he's in sector 3, so we'll see what happened there. But Victor Ivanov now about 2 seconds behind Eras. I mean, Ivanov's still got a great chance here.
Yeah, of course. But it's really amazing to see Eras now in the lead. I mean, who would have
Ivanov pits, sorry, Ivanov pits.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting to see who comes out on top, Ivanov or Lucas Schmidt. Oh, and Ivanov has missed the big box. Oi, oi, oi. That could be crucial as well. Yeah, Lucas is now coming up to the final corner. I think he's gonna do him, but yeah, him missing on his big box, I think that could play a crucial part. And I think it has indeed, because Lucas Schmidt easily takes second place from Victor Ivanov.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas got a gift earlier on when he was given the lead of the race, and he's been given another gift here. I don't know what the ACR drivers have been given out as gifts, but they're getting some nice ones in return. Question now is going to be, what's Sergei Eras going to do? Is he going to go to the pits, or is he going to keep going? I wouldn't be surprised if he does keep going. It's all going to depend on fuel level and how his tyres are coping.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. He has his pit light on now, so he could be pitting really soon. And it's gonna be interesting to see where he comes out, if he comes out ahead of Lucas or if he's gonna be behind. I reckon it's gonna be really close. But I think Sergi has the upper hand now, but it's tough to say. And he is coming into the pits indeed. So let's see now.
This could be very close.
It could be very close indeed. I think he has this.
Option tyres!
Oh, he's really going for the options for the last 17 laps. Jesus Christ! Yeah, and he's gonna merge in the lead. So yeah, he is.
I'm not surprised he's gone for the option tyre here. The problem is I think he's going to have the lead. He's going to have to make these option tyres work straight away, and then he's going to need to make them last, because as we saw with George, okay, George was perhaps a little bit more aggressive on his tyres, but as we saw with George, 6-7 laps into the stint, they start going off. Prime tyres are more reliable.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's 17 laps. That's quite a lot for the options, but if he can make it stick, then good job.
Definitely. Now, I mentioned earlier on, Martin, that Jordi Zwiers had made a pit stop and was 10 seconds behind Pedro Gomez. He's now only 3 seconds behind Pedro Gomez. Jordi on the option tyre. I don't think he's going to be able to get them to the end, though. He's been on them for a few laps now. But yeah, potential little battle coming our way soon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the closest battle for a position between Gomez and Zwiers, so gonna be interesting to see how that develops, because we have 16 and a half laps remaining in this race, so there's still quite a bit of time remaining and quite a lot of opportunities to take for these drivers. So we'll see how they cope on and how the battle will continue.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just having a quick look at top speeds at the moment, because I just saw that Pedro, it looked like he only hit about 298 kilometers an hour down the straight. That is a low top speed. I mean, his highest speed is 306.5 kilometers an hour, but I think that may have been his slipstream, as Jordi right behind him is set purple sector 1, purple sector 2. Maybe Jordi has pitted again recently. I'll have to check on that. But yeah, Jordi definitely within fighting range now.
Yeah, definitely he is almost on the fastest lap of the race, which is still held by George Chatsipantelis with a 137.6. And now Zwiers is really close to Gomez, really right on the rear of his car. And it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. The two rookies going at it for 4th place in the ACE division. That's quite an impressive debut, even though, yeah, there are not many drivers on the that started the race, and especially on the grid, since we have only 8 drivers on the track. But still, it is quite impressive, I have to say.
It is. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many people are in the race. To us, Jordi having a look at the inside, he doesn't really need to do it, because I think he'll absolutely destroy him down the straight for straight line speed. But yeah, I mean, if you look, I mean, okay, Danny Van Der Neat is probably the most high-profile DNF from this race.
This is gonna be so easy. Oh wow! The top speed is an advantage. Wow.
Someone check his car for DRS. I mean, I did mention that Pedro's straight line speed was a little bit low, so yeah, Jordi, it was quite simple in the end, but he's still pumping in some decent lap times right now. But yeah, I was going to say, Danny Van Der Neat, I mean, the highest profile DNF of the race so far. So, I mean, for these new guys, getting to the end of an ACE race is not necessarily always easy. They're long, they're tough, they're physical, and being able to get to the end has got to be goal number 1. Goal number 2 is how far up the grid can you get. Sergi Adas taking a little bit of avoiding action around Adek Kulak there, who Kulak was trying to get it out of the way, but it got a little bit messy.
Yeah.
So looking at last laps then, Martin, I mean, Sergi Adas 38.8, so he's looking after those option tyres. Lucas Schmidt a 39.4. I'm wondering if Lucas Schmidt doesn't know what tyres Sergi is on, and has perhaps had that moment of, bloody hell, 4.5 seconds. If we're on the same tyre, I'm not getting him, and if he's on the option tyre, he's too far ahead.
Yeah, it really, if you look at the POV of Sergi Adas, you can really see he is gentle to the tires. He's trying to make them last. That really shows why he is only doing 138, because with the options, looking at other people's times, he should be doing 137 easily, but he's not, because he's looking after the tires, and he's doing a good job at it and still increasing the gap. So if he really makes the tires last throughout the rest of the stint and doesn't make any mistakes, I think he has this in the back.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you there. I mean, to be fair, looking at the qualifying grid, and even 3-4 laps into this race, he was not on our radar for winning this race.
No, not at all. But yet there he is. That just shows that anything can happen in sim racing.
Anything can definitely happen, that's for sure. Go on, you was going to say something then?
I was gonna say that the top speed is quite low for the flag-to-flag car, but it looks like they don't really use the 7th gear too much. Looking at Sergi, he only used 7th gear right at the end of the straight, so that was interesting.
I mean, he's definitely driving at the moment in a look after your tyres fashion. I mean, he's been lifting through the long turn, right-hand turn, throughout the course of this race. Yeah. He might be looking after his tyres, but he definitely wasn't looking after his rear end right there. I mean, that is a risk though. That when you're driving cautious, your turning points change, your braking points change. You can make a mistake very easily.
Yeah. When I mean, some people might think that when you're in the lead and you're pushing a lot, then it's not necessary that you're just risking of crashing. But at this point, the drivers are so used to pushing the car that if they back off, it could really screw up their momentum and they could make a mistake if they back off. So yeah. It's exactly that. I mean, yeah, you might think that if you're pushing, you're just risking, but yeah, it could be actually the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, the most famous situations of that is Senna at Monaco. He was in the groove and he was pushing. As soon as they told him to back off a bit, into the wall. I mean, I know I've had what I'm about to mention. I'm curious to know whether you have, Mark. I mean, you're an avid racer. And I mean, I would hope that you probably haven't had it in a real car, but in the sim racing that you've done, have you ever had the situation of you are so focused on the racing that you're doing that you've sat there and gone, I don't remember driving the last 10 laps.
Yeah.
It's just happened, and even when you try and think about it, there's no memory of it.
Yeah, it happens to me sometimes when there's nothing going on. That my mind is just in a different universe.
That's a different scenario. What was the name? Who were you thinking of?
I don't know. But yeah, I'm just thinking about random things, and I'm not really thinking about driving, and I don't really remember. I'm not really focusing. Oh, I have this corner ahead, and like I don't even have it in my mind that I'm on a track at all. But yet. Still I'm like consistent and going quick and stuff like that, even though I'm not really concentrating on the race at all. So yeah, it happens from time to time that my mind is just somewhere else completely.
Yeah. And I mean, some people may laugh at that, but it happens to a lot of people. I mean, I know I've got a friend of mine last year was going through a bit of a tough time. And went to have a go on a game and had been struggling with the setup and lap times and with everything that was going on in their life. They thought, I'm just going to go and drive for a bit. And for about 5-10 laps they were really trying, and it was not working. And then they kind of got into that phase of their mind just went clear, they weren't focusing on actually what they were doing, it was happening naturally, and all of a sudden they're going half a second faster. And then when they sat there and go, I don't remember really doing that. And it's just that, I mean, we talked about how people have got to be concentrated, but at the same time, you've kind of got to be relaxed. Some people drive well when they're driving angry. Some people don't. Some people drive very, very well when they're very relaxed, and it just comes so naturally. I mean, something I know I've done in real life is you'll be driving somewhere and go, why have I driven here? I've gone completely the wrong way. And it's the autopilot thing. Your mind's on something else and you automatically have driven somewhere else. And it can happen in racing as well. But it's not a bad thing, and it's not something as a sim racer to go, oh no, I've got memory loss problems, I need to stop drinking.
Yeah, as we're talking, Zweers is coming into the pits for the third time in this race. That means he's gonna fall down to 5th place, which means that Gomez is gonna retake 4th. But maybe in the final laps he could very well catch him again, because he's only gonna be like 15 seconds back and he's gonna be on fresh options. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But I saw. In a lot of cases, also in mine, when I was a bit less experienced, that when you're practicing and either your teammate or somebody else is quicker, some drivers start to be too aggressive. Like
Yes.
they brake later. They try to be more aggressive with turn in, be more aggressive on acceleration, and that's exactly what you're doing wrong. Because if you do that, you're just gonna mess everything up. You know, you need to progressively get faster, but do it by actually like learning the track and stuff like that, settling in, and not by going more aggressive, because that's always gonna mess everything up, and then you're gonna get frustrated, and you're gonna get even more aggressive with the driving, and you're gonna you're gonna start crashing. The lap times will be slower, and you're gonna get demotivated sometimes as well. So in that aspect, yeah, it's difficult actually. But it's difficult to keep yourself under control when you're slower than somebody else. It's difficult to keep yourself under control and not go more aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it. I've suffered from that this season. In the like, I mean, I could spend. I mean, actually, I was thinking back. I mean, obviously, I raced with Kuba Brzezinski and Jeroen Kwekel last season, and both of those ridiculously quick. But one of the things that Kuba sort of always used to say was, you kind of got to focus on what you're doing. And Jeroen was similar. And I mean, I've had it this season where Kuba also said, don't practice too much. Like if you're doing 6-8 hours a day, it's probably too much. Now I've had it where I've been doing, like, I'll be on the server for a couple of hours and I'm working on learning the track, getting used to the track, tweaking the setup, getting consistent with the lap times, and then a certain Mr. SimRacing comes on and within 2 laps is 3 seconds faster. Now, if I sit there and go, oh my god, and do exactly what you've just said, which I have done in the past, my lap times go from 3.5 seconds behind to 4, to 4.5, to 5, to crashing, to frustration, to anger, to, oh, sod this, I'm going to go get myself something to eat. Because, I'm trying to think what the word is, the objective changed in my own mind of, right, this is what I need to do for me to, hang on a minute, how is he so much faster within 2 laps? I need to do that, Rob, and it's the wrong way to do it. And as soon as you as a driver can go, it doesn't matter what they're doing, as long as I'm making myself a little bit quicker doing what I'm doing, that's what I need to do.
Yeah, exactly, and that's part of the mental strength as well. That's why I was saying that it is so important to be very strong mentally in this kind of aspect and overall as well. I used to do this as well when I was younger and when I was less experienced. When I saw somebody that was quicker, I was being too aggressive and stuff like that. I was getting frustrated, and I just kept going out to the pits and gonna do a fast lap, and I was more and more aggressive. I was starting to crash and I was raging and stuff like that. But with time, I managed to learn that it's the wrong thing to do, that by being gentle with the car, braking a bit earlier, hitting the apex, getting on the power nice and early, you're gonna get faster over time, and by being more aggressive, it's not gonna happen. It's just gonna come naturally. Like we've had basically, if I would be right now like practicing with Michi, for example, and I would be, I don't know, 2-3 tenths behind him, if I was younger myself, then I would just start being too aggressive and do silly things on the track. But right now I'm just like, okay, you're faster now, but I don't really care. I don't care what lap times you're doing. I'm just gonna concentrate on myself. And if I would do it right now, yeah, right. The first day I would be 3/10 slower, but the next day I would be half a second quicker suddenly, or my lap times will be half a second quicker suddenly. So yeah, yeah. Like I said, the mental aspect very, very important. Like I said multiple times.
It really
today.
is. I mean, I've had it as well, where even this season, where sorry, I realised my microphone was sounding a bit quiet to me. I've had it this season where, like, you think, right, okay, I'm going to go and do a couple of hours practice, and you've got a plan. I mean, it's always good to have a plan of what you're going to do in your practice session, whether it just be, right, I'm going to work on qualifying, or I'm going to work on stint lengths and tyre life. It's always good to have a plan, because then you can more accurately work on certain things. But I've had it where I've gone to the circuit and perhaps I do a stint and the lap times are off, and it's a little frustrating, and trying a bit more, and it just turns into a sort of like a 2-hour session that feels like a complete failure. And I've seen people on the FSR Open servers perhaps do this as well, like jump in a car. I mean, Spa was a good example. Jumped in a car at Spa while it was raining, pull out of the pits and try and take Eau Rouge flat straight out of the pits. It's not going to work. It doesn't happen, unfortunately. The car's not ready for it. But this person was doing it again and again and crashing every single time, and I could tell that they were getting frustrated by it. But sometimes when you get into that situation, you have to go, okay, so today's not going right for me. Maybe I should call it a day. Although it hasn't gone to plan, I will have still learnt something. I might not know what it is now, but hopefully I've learnt something. So you can come back the next day or a few hours later with a different attitude, a different mentality, and all of a sudden you can be half a second quicker. So, I mean, like you say, the mentality is such a key part. I mean, in sim racing, in real racing, in all parts of life, actually.
Yeah.
Getting a bit deep now here, Martin.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. What I wanted to say is that, I mean, I know people that, for example, Michi, he's like used to practicing and working on the setup for hours in one day, and for me, if I do 1 hour of driving, I'm getting sick of this. I mean, I'm getting bored and I can't improve anymore and stuff like that. I'm gonna call it a day. I mean, I couldn't practice for 3 or 4 hours a day. But what I wanted to say, that if you get into that aggressive mode, it's good to, when you start to get frustrated or when you start being too aggressive, it's time to stop. It's time to get a break and get back to it later on, because then when you're gonna go on the track next time, your mind is gonna be clear and you could go half a second quicker, like you said. But if you're gonna be aggressive, you're gonna get frustrated and you're gonna keep on driving for 1 or 2 hours more. You're gonna get more aggressive, you're gonna start raging and stuff like that. You're gonna get frustrated, you're gonna get unmotivated and stuff like that. And if you're gonna keep driving like that, even the next day, you're still gonna have that in your mind, that you were crashing and you were this and that, you were aggressive, and you're gonna continue the same way the next day. So what I'm always trying to say to people, that when I see them getting frustrated, I'm always saying, get a break, come back to it later on, clear your head, you're gonna get faster later on, you know. So yeah, once again, it's really important with the mentality.
Yeah. Martin and Dave's guide to life at the moment. But the thing is, though, it is so right, and I think you would agree with. I mean, you've just said there that you say that to people, and you've been that person before, so you can kind of understand when that person goes, "No, I need to do it. I've got to do it. No, I need to do it." So in their mind, that's what they think is the right thing to do, but it's the experience that tells you, look, I'm not telling you what to do, but in my experience, this is what you should do. Yeah. And sometimes, in all walks of life, it is just as simple as going, Oh, okay, yeah. It's not easy to do it, but once you realise actually that's all I need to do, it can be a game changer. It really can be a massive game changer.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, when I usually say to people that they should get a break and something like that, they say like, "No, I'm so close to doing this lap time and that lap time. I'm so close. I need to do it now." You know, because now I'm in the zone. I need to do it now. Usually people don't listen to that. They're just gonna keep going. But yeah, like you said, the experience that I have, I see what they're doing. I know how they're feeling. I know I'm trying to tell them what they should do. But yeah, obviously, but I can understand that they want to keep going because I was like that as well when I was young.
I've got another one to give you as well in a moment. Just want to mention Victor Ivanov is catching up to Lucas Schmidt, so we could have some action in the final 4 races here. But okay, right, Martin. Here's one for you. I've done this. I could pretty much put money on the fact that you've probably done this, and you know that other people have done this as well. Like, you'll think, well, I'm going to go and do a bit of practice. You jump in the car, you set up on, you go out on track, and you go and do a personal best without even trying. And you're like, bloody hell, where did that come from? Right, let's have it. And you can spend the next 2 hours trying to match or beat that lap time and get nowhere near it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have experience with that as well. Usually, yeah, it happened to me even this year. When I was doing Virtual GP, I was fighting for the title, and you know, since Schmidl is so incredibly quick, I always have to go on the limit. When I was practicing, I managed to not really set a PB, but set a lap time that was very close to my PB on the first attempt, and I was like, wow, I wasn't even trying. I was like just going quite gently and just not really pushing. And I was like, I can go much quicker than this. And suddenly, it's that moment. If you're gonna say that to yourself, it's exactly in that moment when you're gonna start being more aggressive with the car, and then you're not gonna match it suddenly for the first time. You're not gonna match it for the second time, and suddenly you're exactly in that moment when you're overly aggressive. You start to get frustrated because you can't suddenly match your time, even though you've done it on the first attempt.
Yep.
And it's like going full circle.
Yep. which is why I mentioned it. Jordi Veers has done a purple sector for one time. Obviously, we know he's on the freshest options out there at the moment. So I'm riding on board with him. Big tank slapper from him. And so riding on board with him and hoping he was going to go and get fastest lap of the race. But that tank slapper has just absolutely ruined that for him, unfortunately. But we'll jump back on board with Victor Ivanov. I mean, it's an interesting conversation we've had there. Now, obviously, we're not. This isn't being broadcast live at the moment, so nobody's going to have any idea what we've been talking about or how this race has gone, really. But I find that the conversation we just had a very interesting one, and I hope that when people watch this and listen to this, they're going to be able to go, I do that. Maybe I need to do what Martin and David sort of said there. It can make the way you practice so much more enjoyable. I mean, one thing that I've said to people before is, and something I used to do actually when I used to get into that phase of, I can't do it. I go, I know, I'm going to go and do 20 laps at a different track. Because I want to keep driving, but I'm going to go and do 20 laps at a different track, something different. And I've had it where I've gone and done that, had a bit of fun around another track, even in a different car at times, and perhaps learned something there that's made me go, actually, if I do that with a setup on that track, I wonder if that'll work. So just taking that break, go and do something. It can be very, very rewarding. My last little tip on life is, if you ever wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep, you're the kind of person that will sit there, you'll lie there for 2-3 hours, can't get back to sleep. As soon as you're into those situations, make the mental note, right, get up, go do something, whether it be read a book, watch a bit of TV, go and get a drink, get up. If you get up, go do something, there's more chance that you'll be back asleep within an hour than if you lie there trying to sleep, because you'll be in your head going, I can't sleep, I need to get to sleep, I can't sleep. So yeah, similar thing, go and take a break. Right, Victor Ivanov, lap and a half to go. He's right on the back of Lucas Schmidt. So are we going to have some action here? Maybe, but I've got to say, Sergio Heras, what a final stint he has had. Looking after his tyres, pulled out an 11-second gap while we've been chatting. He looks like he's going to take the win, but is Ivanov going to get Schmidt, do you think, Martin?
Well, he has 1.5 laps to go, so it's gonna be tough because, yeah, there's not gonna be that many opportunities in one lap, but if you can get a good exit somewhere and maybe Lucas makes a slight mistake. I mean, even the slightest of mistakes could change the race for both of them. So we'll see. 1 lap to go. He is close, but is he gonna be close enough? It's gonna be very, very tough because, yeah, one lap, getting the overtake done, it's gonna be very, very tough. But if he can get it done, that's gonna be quite amazing.
That it would be. He's taking a very tight line around the final corner, trying to give himself every opportunity to be close to Lucas Schmidt. But Lucas Schmidt's opened up a nice little gap heading up to turn 1. I mean, I think really Ivanov needs to be having a go into turn 11 to have any real opportunity. I think trying to make a sight style move into turn 19 is not quite going to work, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, you know, closing the gap to the driver ahead is one thing, but overtaking is another thing. So, yeah, it's gonna be very, very difficult. I don't think he's gonna have much chances right now. He needs to get a very, very good exit out of this left-hander, and Lucas needs to make a slight mistake. Is that gonna happen though? Not really.
Oh, Ivanov, a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit of the hairpin there.
Yeah, I don't think, oh, definitely not on this straight, unless he wants to dive bomb like crazy.
He might do. He's giving it everything he's got, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. I am going to have to cut away in a moment to see Sergi across the line, but we'll try to see if Victor Ivanov's going to throw it up the inside into not this left-hander. This left-hander, he looked, but it's been covered off by Lucas Schmidt. So let's go and have a look then at Sergi Heras. A phenomenal race out of nowhere. What a way to take another victory in FSR ACE for the Circuit of the Americas. Round 15 is owned by Sergi Heras. What a race. Lucas Schmidt, Ivanov fighting through the final corner. It looks like Lucas Schmidt is going to be able to hold on to second place with Ivanov in third. What a race from the both of those. And then Pedro Gomez, new to Formula Sim Racing. He may be quite some way behind, but can't argue with a 4th place in ACE, to be honest. There's then a big gap back to Geordie, but yeah, Pedro Gomez should be very, very pleased with how this race has gone, Martin.
Yeah, exactly. He can be very, very pleased with his debut here in FSR. Yeah, 4th place, very, very good as well for Jordi Sveers. 5th place, very, very good. He's done 3 pit stops, so yeah, 5th place, very, very well done. And then we have Kulak in 6th, Chapon in 7th, Williamson in 8th, and that's it really.
It is. Now, you know what, Geordie's wise, you mentioned earlier that he might be trying to go and get fastest lap. He tried, he couldn't get it. He missed out by 0.013 of a second. So George Chatsipantelis did manage to take the fastest lap of the race. I've got to admit, I mean, I think George has probably had one of the best races of his season, but unfortunately it only lasted 25 laps. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, Martin, I mean, before we both started this broadcast, we were a little bit concerned that we could end up with a bit of a sort of a no-show event here. Now, okay, there was a phase toward the end where there was not a lot going on, but prior to that, it was a very action-packed and entertaining race.
Oh yeah, it was indeed. I was actually... Personally, I'm actually quite surprised that it was this interesting. I was like you said, I was expecting a very boring race, and I was just like, I'm falling asleep here. But no, it was actually a good race. Like you said, there was a phase midway through the race when it got a little bit boring, but at least we had something to talk about, right? But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I think it was a pretty fun race.
Sergio Adas may have done very well to win the race, but he's absolutely awful at donuts. Oh no, he can do a couple. As the Pascal Chapon trying to make his way to the pitch. But yeah, I've got to say congratulations to Sergio Adas on taking that victory. That may have actually confirmed him second place in the ACE standings as well. Now, usually I would do a bit of an advertisement for watching the FSR World Championship and Pro, but obviously this will be on YouTube after they have both been broadcast. If you haven't watched them, you can find them on the Formula Sim Racing YouTube channel, which is where you should be watching this. So I will mention that obviously we do have the final round of Formula Sim Racing. I will check the dates on that. The final round, 2 weeks. Okay, good stuff. Which will be from Brazil. I've got to say, a circuit that I think I and most people do really like.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it definitely is one of mine. Okay, time to bring this to an end then. So I want to say thank you to Martin Stefanko for joining me on the commentary today. As I mentioned, it was a fantastic, I think that was a fantastic conversation that we had. Hopefully very enlightening to a lot of people. So thank you very much for joining us, Martin.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was nice to be here.
Good. Okay, I've been Dave Paitlin, and yeah, make sure you come and join us again soon. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.
Goodbye.